Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about very fun facts about studying in France for all the students who newly arrived in France or who are willing to study in France one day. And this video is a little bit funny because it's better to discover the country by yourself, but if it's better to know all this information before coming, that would make the life way easier, especially in France and interacting with the French community. All of the things that I'm going to discuss is based on my experience when I visit France and from international students who are studying in France right now. Let's go and start the video. The first point I will discuss is making new friends. So because I thought when I arrived that the French people will take me with open arms, but that was not the case. Because actually French people, they have friends since they were in the kindergarten and they keep these friendships for a long time. So that was like for me different because I have been living in the United States, Germany, Serbia, Switzerland, and Egypt, and also these countries they welcome foreigners, and in the school or in the college it's better to communicate with foreigners so you can have this culture exchange, but it was not the case in France. So don't be panicked, just try to, my advice is to interact closely to French communities. For example, you could join the university clubs, like CETER, for example. For me, I did the language organization, so I could be interacting with French people more. And I ended up that most of the time I spent in France that I had friends who are speaking English, or they are foreigners like me and they are here to study or to work or to do a stage, like an internship, for example. And this is how it worked. So you need to participate actively so you could be able to get into the circle with French people and make new friends. That's my advice. 2, the police. It's weird here because, you know, the French government and the French police is very active, but sometimes the police don't show up, and that's very funny for me because I had a friend and she was living alone, and you know, on the other floors there were two persons who were living together, and they always had fights. And one day she heard that someone's trying to break the door, and she, like, you know, she checked who is in the door, and she saw this neighbor. And then she was like, who are you? And then he was like, you know, she thought he's confused or something, he's drunk maybe, and he's confused in the apartment. And she was like, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? And then he ran away quickly, and she called the police multiple times to report it, and the police never showed up. And that was really like funny to hear. It's not like, you know, sometimes I'm just advising you that because if you would know that before coming, that don't expect the police would be the same in your country. So you just need to you know, have more and more calls so you could get the police quicker. 3, the French etiquette in business. Here, like, it's not like other countries. For example, in United States and Egypt, it's very convenient to work in whatever domain you are good on. It's based on experience, not on the university degree. So, for example, you could get a degree in psychology or in law, but you work in banking, business, and entrepreneurship. Myself, I got my degree in pharmacy and it was completely fine to work in sales. But in France, it's not the same case. You have to relate your degree with the job that you are looking forward to working. So that's something here, like it's very important to that, and they actually, the system or the education here is preparing students to work in the same field they are studying. But I have to tell you that. That's something funny I have to share. Like here, it's very bad to talk about the money at the very first interview. So because that's impolite. And I remember like long time ago when I get the accepted in my internship to do like English teaching in France for students, and I asked about the money and so on. I talked to my French friend and I told her that I asked about the money and so on. She was like, oh my God, Hossam, did you do that? Really? That's impolite. How did you ask them that? And I was like, really? The money is taboo in France? It shouldn't be taboo because when you are not on the same page, that's a problem. You know, I need some amount of money and if you don't offer this amount of money, that's a problem for me. So we need to, like, I remember, like after a few interviews in the job, because it's a longer process and you need to have multiple interview, and I was like, shouldn't we talk about the money or something like that? And it was funny when I hear that from my French friend, that it's implied here to talk about the money. And that's something very normal to talk in United States, but it's the same, kind of the same in Egypt, for example. So that's something I would love to know that before actually applying, or for you all, that's nice to know before coming. But you can always find jobs on Indeed, LinkedIn. I will do a video for that, how you can search for internships and job like opportunities, and that's we're gonna check in the next videos. For the magic word bonjour, here in for the French people, it's very rude to talk to them like directly, because they think that you are, interrupting their like life. And before anything, you have to say a very nice word as a kind of agreement that you both agree talking to each other. So, for example, if you say excuse-moi or excuse me, no, that doesn't work, because excuse-moi is more into problems, or into quick actions, like you want someone to get away from your way so you can pass quickly, or you are running on the escalator to catch the train or to catch the metro very quickly, so you cannot say just excuse me. Because I remember I was walking with my friend and I wanted to eat something from the restaurant, but I don't know the restaurant, like, the time of closing. So I just went to the person and I asked him quickly, il ferme à quelle heure, et c'est tout, et la personne me répondre c'était bien, or it was good, it was fine. But the person, like my friend, told me after, Hossam, you cannot just ask him when the restaurant would be closed. And I was like, okay, so what was the story? What should I do? And he told me you have to say bonjour or bonsoir, and then you can wait, give him a pause until he replies or she replies, and then at that point he accepted that you both have the conversation. And after that you can ask him the like whatever the, if you want to ask about the metro or about the timing or whatever. So that was, because in English you say excuse me and that's it, or you don't have to say good morning or good evening or stuff like that. And then here in France it's different. Here, like, you have to have an agreement before, and there's actually bonjour, and it's very convenient to hear bonjour in the morning and in the evening, because bonjour is like have a good day or good day, something like that. So bonjour in the morning or evening is fine, but definitely bonjour et bonsoir, these are the common words that should be used, and that's it. 5. The housing. Actually, housing here in France is a big problem, especially in Paris, because Paris is one of the largest population in Europe, based on the population and the number of apartments. It's very, very huge, and so it's very normal that you could find an apartment, and when you try to go and visit, you find a very long line is waiting to check the same apartment, and you think, oh, my folder is not that, because actually here, if you want to go to an apartment, you need to rent, and to rent this apartment actually is your salary should be 3 times higher than the amount of the money of the apartment, and you need also a French cosigner, which is crazy. It's very crazy to have this. But there is 2 good news here for students, actually, and I'm talking to students definitely, is you can apply for some housing for students, such as the cruise, for example, and that's very convenient. Or even if you try to rent a personal apartment, you could actually try firstly to come and here, and then like register in Airbnb, for example, for a month or 2 months, and check the apartments by yourself, because online sometimes there are a lot of scammers who put fake details and fake photos, and then they ask you to pay 1,000 euro, for example, and then you find nothing, which is catastrophic. So my advice is to come on Airbnb, and then you try to validate and check and see the apartment by yourself. And there is good news. The good news is, for students, you can find the government co-signing, and the government co-signing is Visal, which is a great actually project from the French government to students, because the visa you can do it online. It's very easy, very convenient and free. You don't pay anything, and you just register with the like your data and your passport number and so on, and address and everything. And actually in 2 hours, maybe in 2 hours, like I remember, like my friends got that in 1 day or 2 hours, 3 hours, or next day, and you get the visa. And actually it gives you like the insurance. It's kind of an insurance or co-signer by the government, the French government, and that's actually for students, which is I like. Finally, the administrative paperwork in France, and this is actually something very painful. You have to be persistent, and you have to be like, the frequency of following up your paperwork should be like that, really. And actually the magic thing that one of my friend told me long time ago, and it was like the folder. You have to get the folder like that, and you could put all of the papers and copies of everything together, so you could go and take your appointment, because usually you could wake up in the morning for a rendezvous or a meeting, and you just go there like 5 a.m. so you could be the first on the line, or to be there before your your appointment. And it's very easy to wait in the line for 4 or 5 hours, 3 hours, that's normal, so that you can just come back later because there's something missing. And that's very normal here in France, which is like, the paperwork really, like with the visa and the bank account, and validation of the visa and everything is related, and it's messy. And I remember I was very angry because I had very painful experience, because I didn't have a bank account, and you realize that everything is based on a bank account when you want to register for the registration for the bus ticket, for example, so you can use this for a month. You need a bank account. If you want to buy a SIM card for your phone with a plan with the internet and everything, you need a bank account. If you want to validate your visa, you have to pay this online, and that you need a bank account. And even in the student services, when you want to eat and stuff like that, you need to register on a certain card that's called Easily. I will tell you later about that, and that you recharge the money through your bank account. So it was catastrophic, and it was painful experience. And I remember, because I received many alerts that I need to finish like my paperwork very quickly, because I was very late, and everything was related to bank account, and I didn't get my my card and my password, because you have to know this. They send a bank card in a day, and then they send your password in another day. So it's hectic, and you need to wait and to check up the mailbox like regularly. And sometimes the person who is coming, the postman, doesn't find the place, so he returns the letter again to the post, and it's messy. And I remember I was very angry talking to my friend about that. And she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, okay, Hossam. And she looked to me like that. And she was like, do some yoga. You should know that. You need to do some yoga. And I was like, really? You're talking about yoga? And my life is like going crazy. That's my life, And that's very convenient here to hear people, because in the system, actually everyone is equal. So if you are going to a place, and it's not like, it's not like United States and Egypt when you can ask for a manager to speak to him or to her to explain your pain. No, actually, and the person who is in charge of your service, he doesn't feel that he or she owns you something. You are in the same level, same ground. So nobody cares about, about your yelling or stuff like that. No, it doesn't work like that in France. I remember another thing I have to tell you about my accommodation. When I arrived at the time and the administration of my scholarship, they had to manage my accommodation. And the first day, I didn't know where I'm going to stay, so they told me, okay, you're gonna stay in like a night in the hotel. And I stayed in the night in the hotel. That was fine. And then I should leave the next day, and the next day they didn't send me where I'm going to stay. So I was like, okay. And I stayed like 7 hours in the lobby in the hotel, waiting for their, to send me the address and stuff like that. And actually, it ended up in the evening. They renewed my night in the hotel, and through the 7 hours I was like talking to them regularly, an hour by an hour. And the last time I told to the lady, okay, where is the person who's in charge, because I'm staying here for 7 hours. And she said, I cannot find the person who's like booking the accommodation. And I was like, okay, tell him when you see him that if he didn't call me in 10 minutes, or if he didn't like send me a final decision either to stay in a hotel or to go somewhere, I will get my package and I will come to the office. And she was like, okay, as you wish. And I was like, really? You are so... I was like, that's, it was like crazy. And I ended up like staying in the hotel, thanks to God. And the next day, actually, I got my accommodation. But that's how it works. You need to be diplomatic, and you need to be patient. A lot of patience you need, to be honest, and persistent. And my highly recommendation is to send emails, because emails are saved, and you could, some people could sue the institutions, for example, if something went wrong. So a little bit, the emails like are a little bit, formal, and you could get a reply swiftly when you send emails, rather than calls and going physically. So finally, guys, my video is up, and my here I want to give you a piece of advice that I said, things that I wish I do before going to France, and I wish the same for you too. And that's actually not like something that the story is bad. No, your time in Paris will be great, will be full of energy. And to be honest, the city is great, is glamorous. A lot of opportunities here, and you could find you can chase your dreams and achieve a lot of stuff. And to be honest, actually, try to think about it like, the city or the place or the country is like, is the set up for your story, and you need to make up your story. I know some people who are staying here, and they live like Emily in Paris, and like dressing up very nice every day, and drinking wine and fromage, and going to these picnics and traveling around and watching watching the sites in Paris and so on. And that's actually something I highly recommend. And other people who don't care about that and they stay, but I highly recommend you to be energetic and try the city. Try to test everything, because they have great food, they have great history, the streets, and the civilization, the opportunities here, everything is actually great. And to be honest, actually this is the most interesting place for me, like compared to the other countries and cities that I have lived in. So I highly recommend you to make up your story. And just if you are going to Paris, or you're a student, you're going somewhere and you need more information, just subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me some tips. What else you want to know, what videos you like to hear about, or the things that actually very exciting to you, so I could make up the new videos based on your desires. And for now, see you later or a bientôt.